Question number 19. The trajectory of a football after being kicked can be described by the function d equals, I'm going to put a d here and an x here, d equals negative 2x squared plus 64x, where d represents the vertical distance from the ground in yards, and x represents the horizontal distance from the kicker. Determine the horizontal distance between the ball and the kicker once the ball hits the ground. So here is the kicker. And he just kicked the ball, and it's going through a trajectory something like this, I guess. It will look like a parabola, since we have a quadratic equation right here. So we want to know the distance between the ball and the kicker once it hits the ground. So that's where it hits the ground. Hits the ground. I wish I could write as fast as I can talk. Or I can say things. So this is what we want to know right here. The distance between the kicker and the ball once it hits the ground. So that's the big question mark. So how can we determine that? Well, we can just set d equal to 0, because once the ball hits the ground, the distance is 0. The vertical distance from the ground is 0. So 0 equals negative 2x squared plus 64x. Now we can just solve for x. And that will tell us what that is right there. Okay, so in this case, I'm actually going to solve by factoring. So I'm going to factor out a negative 2. Negative 2x squared divided by negative 2 is x squared. 64x divided by negative 2, negative 32x. And I can also factor out an x. And I actually didn't notice that before. So I can take out an x. X squared divided by x is just x. Now 32x divided by x is just negative 32. Okay, so that's equal to 0. So now we need to find what values of x would make this equation true. So those would be 0, because if I plug in a 0 for x over here, 2 times 0 times anything else is just 0. So 0 works, as well as 32. Now, this 0 just represents that is where the kicker actually kicked the ball. There is a distance of 0 between the kicker and the ball at this point. So that's what this 0 represents. But what about the 32? That will represent the distance between, so that's the question mark is 32, the kicker and the ball once it hits the ground. Went all the way up, came down. Right there. So the horizontal distance between the ball and the kicker once the ball hits the ground is 32 yards. And that's it.